Hey guys, Chad here with Apex Reviews. Today I'm excited to bring you a car that really needs no introduction. This is a 2018 Cadillac CTS-V. The CTS-V is powered by a 6.2 liter supercharged V8, produces 640 horsepower and 630 foot-pounds of torque, all routed through the rear wheels through an 8-speed automatic, and it does have 4 doors, so pretty awesome in this regard. Actually just filming down in Detroit here. This car is in for some repairs, so it's got some nicks and bruises on it. Unfortunately, it's not a brand new vehicle through GM. I'm not Doug DeMuro, so unfortunately I don't have GM knocking on my door to hand me a CTS-V, but I thankfully was able to get my hands on this one and get a video for you guys. So as we go throughout, feel free to leave comments in this comment section below if you have questions. I'll try to do a kind of a high-level overview of the vehicle, and then there's going to be a point of view test drive separate from this video as well. This will just be exterior and interior. Now, looking at the front end of the V, the first thing you really notice, especially as a car coming down the road, is look at that light pattern. I mean, you've got essentially light pipes coming up this far side all the way down, and then you can see the hood there. You can see the little essentially faux 5-point harness seatbelt parts on the Recaro seats. But looking at it here, you can actually see that coming behind you. So it's a really menacing looking vehicle. People really move right out of your way. You've got that kind of black chrome mesh in the front grille, so it looks phenomenal. And you can see you do have that kind of that standard Cadillac badging now, which has that wider profile as opposed to what you had in the past. You do have 20-inch wheels on these, 6-piston front brakes, 4-piston rears, and they are 2-piece front brakes. They're not ceramic. Then you have your rears. Come around to the back. You can see you still have that kind of that long profile, obviously, that the standard CTS has. And this is all built on that Alpha platform, which is the ATS, CTS, and the 6th gen Camaro are all on the same platform. And using this LT4 V8, you know, so it's not used in a lot of vehicles because it's a very high output engine, you know, 640 horsepower, and that's just obviously a lot. So it goes into the ZL1, the ZL1 Camaro, and the ZL6 Corvette, as well as CTS-V. So it's the only place you're going to find this LT4. Look at the back here. You can still see it's a V, obviously through that V badge. You know, if somebody wanted to kind of keep that sleeper effect from the rear, I don't think you can really make the front look like a sleeper, but from the rear you could, you know, pull off that V badge. And really at that point, the only thing speaking to the other people around you are the nice fat tires in the rear and that exhaust pipe, and obviously the sound coming out the back. So there's two 95/30 R20s, and the fronts are two 65/35 R20s, and that's about it. You know, as you look around the vehicle, I think that really the best angle for this car is the front. It looks very menacing, nice profile, nice look. And as you get closer to the hood here, you can actually see you do have heat coming right out of this vent. I mean, it's all functional. None of this is really fake going on here, but just an excellent looking vehicle. This one does have the performance data pages, or PDR, performance data recorder. So if you're using this on a track scenario, it would record your laps as well as all the telemetry kind of around that, such as speed, G-forces, things like that. And as we get in the inside, there's some really cool technology that I want to share with you guys that really just makes this a more well-rounded vehicle. You know, in day-to-day, I've been driving this car around Detroit here about an hour, and the car just really feels great. I mean, it takes a lot of due diligence to really restrain yourself not to use that horsepower that's there, but the car rides great. It's very quiet. When you need to put the power down, it does pretty good. I mean, I don't think you're ever really gonna feel like 640 horsepower is coming to the ground very cleanly, but the car does darn well for what it is, you know. And it's not a cheap car. This is a $110,000, I believe, MSRP vehicle. So it does come at a cost, unfortunately, but you know, it's a beautiful car. And unfortunately, GM's really pulling the plug on these. So the 2019 model year doesn't have any changes compared to the 2018, and they're gonna produce those throughout 2019 here up until about May, and they're gonna pull the plug on these. And there's gonna be a new CTS coming out. It's CT something or other, I don't know the name, but this will be essentially extinct, and who knows what they're gonna put in for an engine. I mean, you know, with all the CAFE standards, things like that going on, unfortunately, a lot of these, you know, big V8s are being pulled from us. I mean, hell, the supercharger's got 1.7 liters, and the supercharger itself has some more displacement than some of the cars on the road. So, you know, overall, great car, great engine, and let's go over the interior here. Now, looking at the inside of the V, you can see it's a nice place to be. You've got a mix of leather and suede finishes, as well as carbon fiber. You've got nice Recaro seats here with Recaro badging on the side. You do have the faux 5-point harness kind of holes there in the seat. Not a huge fan of that. They did on the Chevy SS, but perhaps it's just an industry thing. Personally, I'd go without it, but teach their own. You do have a full panoramic sunroof. Full leather dash. And then you come across here to the Cadillac Q3 system. So overall, it's a fine system. It all is, touch screen, touch everything, essentially. There's no hard buttons that you may be used to in your current vehicle or every vehicle that you've been in the past. And it works fine for what it is. I mean, there's always going to have that slight disconnect that you're going to feel from a car that has actual buttons. But the system works well. You press audio, it goes to audio. The sound system sounds good. This is a Bose sound system. So press play. Now, mind you, this is just a song I use. This is called Big Sky. It's not a song that you're going to be used to, but it's just a kind of a generic song. Basically, I'm not going to get flagged copyright violations for it. So you can get an idea of what the car sounds like in here, but obviously it's not the same as if you were sitting here. Unfortunately, the microphone's not going to pick that up just the same. But you can see as I slide, it moves progressively. It's fine. I don't feel like I need to slide more than once to adjust my volume. And I can tell you, this thing would get so loud. I mean, that's about as loud as I would go where I had it up a second ago. Any louder and my ears are actually going to hurt. So quite loud. But anyhow, it sounds very nice. Obviously, it should for the price point, but good sounding system. I mean, I know there's some people that are probably buying this car that may not be a big fan of Bose. So, if that's the case, go out, try it yourself and see what you think. But overall, I think it works just fine. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on this. On your climate screens, you do have separate controls for your rear passengers, and they have controls themselves. And as you go home here, you can see you've got your audio, all of your different inputs, and Sirius XM as you'd expect. You have your phone controls, navigation, everything you'd really ever want. There is a manual release for the glove box. You just press it and the glove box opens. So quite interesting. No buttons over there. Obviously, I don't know if that locks if you go into a valet mode or what it does, but anyhow, that's an interesting little party trick, as I'll call it. But even more so of a party trick is as you look here at the bottom throughout your climate controls, what's different is, normal cars, you've got your heated seats and all that jazz, but most cars don't have is you just slide your finger here across the bottom. This opens up, and then you have wireless charging inside here, and when you're done, you just slide your finger, and that closes. So quite interesting, a good way to use the space, since obviously they couldn't really put a charger down here, but glad to see that. You do have a suede lined shifter here, and you press this M to go into manual mode, and then you have your different modes here for your basically your drive modes, and then you can turn off traction control and adjust your traction control here. You do have 2 cup holders, and this is automated. I'm just going to show you that part. So it just opens up, and you just pull back, and that closes. So pretty interesting there. Push this. You do have a cigarette lighter as well as an ashtray, or not even cigarette lighter, a 12-volt outlet. But I really hope nobody's smoking in their V. You go ahead and press this button here. This opens up. You do have layered storage here. You have a 115-volt outlet, as well as your 2 USB inputs, SD card, 3.5mm audio, and another 12-volt outlet. So a lot of inputs there. And you also have a light shining into the glove box, or the not the glove box, the center console. Now looking at the steering wheel here, you can see you do have a full suede steering wheel. Nice feel to it, nice 10-2 grips. You can really hunker your hand down in this corner really well. And then you do have nice metal paddle shifters here as well. And they feel great. They do move with the steering wheel. They're not fixed to the column. So just one thing to note. And you do have your heated wheel and other controls here as well. Now they work just fine. If I push left here, I can control what's on the screen. So the left right now has the boost gauge. And if I went to the right, I could adjust what was on the screen here. So it works just fine. No issues at all. Everything's nice and clear. I do like that the whole gauge is, digital. So there's no manual analog gauges here. And everything is very clean. It's just a great looking screen. And right now we're in Tour. As I move down, if I were to move into track, that changes, and even the exhaust note changes. So with the different modes, obviously there's a lot that's changing here. So you've got your magnetic ride control, and you've also got active valving and exhaust, and you've got adjustable dampening and your steering. So each one of those modes is obviously going to adjust that as such. And there is a full track pages mode, not track pages, but a track mode. Essentially gives you more options here on how much the electronic nannies really interfere with what you're trying to do. So there's another screen for that there. I do like to have just the boost gauge on the left here. And, you know, as we go on the drive here, you're going to see how that, you know, obviously produces boost and that oh sweet sound. So that's there. But overall, it just feels good. No concerns on the feeling here. Your seating position inside is good. It's not, if anyone's ridden in a Ford Taurus show, or not even a show, but a Taurus, they kind of have like an encapsulating feel. And you definitely feel as if you're brought down in this car and sitting lower, but it's a good feeling. You don't feel like the car is surrounding you, but you feel as if you are part of the vehicle, if that makes sense. So a good balance in, I guess, the ride height and the way you feel sitting in the seat. And you do have a heads-up display, and you can adjust that with controls on the left here, both how high and low it is on the screen, speed limits, what you're listening to, and really what you want displayed. I just personally like to have the tach up there. I think it looks great. And you can also adjust the brightness if you want a nice, you know, dark heads-up display or a pretty prominent one. You can go ahead and turn that up. Those controls are right here on this side of the wheel. Now, sitting in the rear of the CTS-V, you really feel almost obviously as if you're in the front. The build quality doesn't change. You've got nice finishes here in the leather in the back. You do have manual closures for your windows here in the back. So if you need some privacy, these windows are tinted, so this isn't really needed. But if this was a vehicle that was you know, stock non-tinted windows, you would be using this to provide yourself some privacy against essentially whoever's driving this car. And if you're sitting in the back of a CTS-V and using these, you're essentially viewing whoever's outside as a peasant. So that's what these are for. They're peasant guards. You do have nice use of materials here. Everything feels great. The back seat of the Recaros, there is a suede pattern. I'm going to open this door just to bring some more light in here. But you can see you've got a nice suede backing to this seat, and you can tell it's a very light seat as I touched it there. And then looking down, you do have your controls for your back seat passengers, heated rear seats, and then you have your temperature controls here as well. Unfortunately, the camera is flaring that out, but it's very crisp in person, so not really too concerned on that. The quality still looks nice. It's not, you know, kind of your old school GM screens that had, you know, kind of pixelated temperature indicators there. So looks nice. I think if somebody was, you know, right in the back of the CTS, they'd feel comfortable, and you got a nice V8 rumble underneath your rear end. So no concerns there. And then I just wanted to note too, the quality of the leather in this car is great. I mean, it's very plush. It just feels great, you know. So they really definitely, as part of what you're spending, is definitely going into the cost of this leather and these different materials. It just feels definitely a very supreme, I don't want to say supreme, but just you know, definitely upper tier leather, I guess I should say. And then folding down here, you do have access to your trunk, small amount of storage, and cup holders as well. And one other thing I did want to note is that there is a full cover for this rear screen that you just push a button up front and it deploys. All right, and to deploy that back windshield cover, you just push this button. I'm going to press it here and you can see exactly what happens. And that goes up to provide additional privacy. So again, if this car's windows were not tinted, you could definitely, you know, encapsulate yourself in the rear while still having, you know, standard tint on your windows. As far as interior lighting, it is all LED, so it's nice to see that. I'm happy to see incandescent going away, as cars are obviously getting newer here, so glad to see manufacturers are adjusting as such. And then one other final point I want to make on the interior is you do have essentially a backup camera right within your mirror. So I can't see quite as well through this mirror as I can obviously when I do this. So with the tint that's on the windshield or on the windows, as well as just general viewing range with blind spots and things as such, this is really a superior way to see what's behind you. And this does stay on as you're going down the road. So it's essentially a full live view of whatever's going on behind you. The quality is good. It's not, full HD or anything such as that, but overall it gives you a good indicator. Just think of a backup camera from like a 2012, 2014 GM product, and that's essentially the quality that you're getting here. If you use the backup camera on the car itself, you've got, honestly, to me, it's quite disappointing. I would like that to be better, especially for the price point here. The quality on the screen up here in the mirror is superior than the one that I'm seeing here as my backup camera. You do have active grid lines that move along with the vehicle, and then you do on the front here, you have a view of where your bumper's at, so you can see if you're coming up to a curb exactly where that's at, and then as well as to the left and to the right, and it will notify you if you're getting too close, since you do have grid lines for that bumper as well. And then you can go back and view your backup camera. So overall, as far as the interior goes, I'd like to see that to be better, but somewhere that the cost was cut, but it's something just to note. All right, let's go into point of view.